Good morning, Southern California, AM 1220, KHTS. This is host Fred Arnold on the Santa Clarita Valley Chamber of Commerce Business Spotlight. I'm joined by Deanna Rivetti. Deanna Rivetti's a real estate professional here in the Santa Clarita Valley, iRealty of Valencia.
Yes.
And you've been doing this for a while?
I have 15 years.
A decade, and don't look like it.
I know. I always tell everybody since I was 10.
That's right. But you're very professional. And one thing I like about it is you're very aggressive on helping your customers, your clients, your homeowners sell their home and buy a home.
And you have to be in this market. You're competing with several other great agents in town, so you do have to be aggressive, especially when you're representing a buyer or seller.
Yeah. Let's hit some good questions. Someone's looking to buy a house. Some tips.
Okay, so if you're going to buy a house, the first thing you need to do is get qualified with a reputable lender. So it needs to be someone who's respected in town, someone that other agents know that can close the deal. So that's the first thing. The second is you need to stay within your price range and make sure that you know all the fees involved. So usually this lender will give you a good faith estimate, and it's not a surprise at the end of escrow where you need to come in with more money.
And this next one I really like. I like the first two are great because you really need to know your financial situation. But the next one is know what you want. Know what you want way before you go out.
Exactly, especially if you have kids. Do you need to be near a school, a hospital, shopping? Does your husband commute? Do you commute? Is freeway access important to you? This is something that you need to communicate to the agent, and that's that puzzle piece that we need to just put together and find the right home.
And I want to focus on that real quick. Back in the day, when I first moved here, we lived way out in Saugus, and I worked in Pasadena. So we just moved to Stevenson Ranch and we made our home there in Stevenson Ranch because it's cut off 15 minutes each way on the commute. So knowing all those details of why or how long it takes to get to the freeway or what your travel plans are or how old your kids are relative to the schools that are local. However, the schools are pretty good, aren't they?
Oh, they are, definitely, especially out here.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big one. What area you want to live in. So do your homework up front. Let's talk about making an offer. So you're getting ready to make an offer. What's some important things you need to do when making the offer?
Okay, so making the offer, you need to have your credit scores. You need to have a pre-qualification letter from the lender and also the bank statements. The other agent, I'm sitting there negotiating with the other agent, and I need to have as much ammo as possible to defend you and get this home. So that's very important. The one thing that they care about is, can we close this and get the money for the seller and get the home for the buyer?
Yeah, that's the number one question we find a lot of listing agents look for. Can the deal close in a smooth, quick, reasonable fashion? And then the second is, we kind of like these people. Sometimes they'll get a liking to some people. That's just the way it is sometimes. But the first thing is, can the person close? One thing I'll mention as being in the industry, and that is you want to send documents to your mortgage professional that aren't crossed out with Social Security numbers. Everything needs to be on there. But you want your mortgage professional to submit paperwork to your realtor and or the other side with the account numbers crossed out, just because you don't want that data to get out there. Really important, I think. One last thing. Do you like it when your mortgage professional that you're partnered with calls the listing agent and lets them know they're qualified?
That's the one thing that I do. And a lot of agents don't do that. I'll call him and I are in that communication, and we say, hey, can you give this agent a call? Do you know them? Do you know them in the business? Have you worked with them before? Can you schmooze? I call it the schmoozing phone call, where they need to schmooze with this agent. All the agent cares about is, when can this close? When can my client get their money?
And there's a comfort level of that lender performing.
Exactly.
Sellers.
Okay, so for the sellers, you need to have a plan. When I'm speaking to a seller and they're listing their home, where are you going? Are you getting a bigger home? Are you getting a smaller home? Are you relocating? Are you going out of state? What's going on? So I need to know what your plan is so I can help you obtain that.
Yeah, and the plan's really important because do you need to lease it back? Are you looking to maybe list it for a little bit longer? Do you need a quick sale? I mean, all that comes into play, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. And communication is key with the seller and the buyers with the agent. So
now this next one is a pet peeve of mine because a lot of agents don't do this, and that is give a seller an idea what they're going to get.
Yeah, the net sheet is important because at the end of the day, it's not about, okay, you're my friend. It's about, hey, how much money am I going to net? What is my home worth in this market? And how much am I going to get? And what are the costs involved?
Yeah.
So
one of the things when it comes to buyers that I find realtors rarely do is review the net sheet, if you will, the closing cost sheet with a buyer. So I'm finding both of them aren't sure what they're going to get out of it. A good real estate agent will review both those with you.
Definitely. Okay, so another thing you need to do is make sure the home is in showing condition when it's listed. It doesn't show cluttered. There isn't money out, jewelry, firearms, prescription. It's just something that you put those things away. Just anything that's important to you. Those are things you kind of put in a storage. But it needs to look like a model home. You want someone to want to buy your home. So keep
all
it
the
less cluttered.
trinkets, all the little stuff, right?
Yes. And the personal pictures too. Those are things you want to take down because you want someone to imagine themselves living there with their family.
And one last thing that I'll mention is, do you ever recommend people do repairs or paint? Sometimes when you have kids, the place gets banged up a little bit. Certain areas you touch up or furniture you actually take out of the house. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, sometimes I would recommend getting a storage area and decluttering the home. Maybe even putting it in the garage. If kids live there, getting the carpets cleaned beforehand is nice. And doing some touch up on the walls is definitely a must.
It's critical.
So
now, someone's selling their house, and one last tip that I know that you do with some of your agents is you show them comparable sales.
yes.
And you review them. Now, in most cases, you've been in those other homes before, so you can tell them what's in that house on why that house is listed for that price and or available for, sold for that price.
Yep, and because of the internet, I have pictures of the inside and outside of the comparable sales down the street that I can show them. Hey, you know what? This has granite. Yours has granite too. We could sell it for this much. But it's very important not to just get the listing, but be honest with the seller and give them a reasonable price, not an unrealistic one just to get the listing.
Make them completely educated.
Yes.
Deanna, how can those that want to reach out to you get you? Superwoman of Real Estate.
Superwoman of Real Estate. You can reach me at thesuperwomanofrealestate.com or at 661-733-6644.
One more time on the phone number.
733-6644.
Awesome. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me,
Appreciate
Fred.
all you do
Thank
for
you
the charities
so
out there.
much.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Absolutely. Well, I hope you enjoyed this edition of the Santa Clarita Valley Chamber of Commerce Business Spotlight. This show is Fred Arnold on AM 1220 KHTS.